Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is a walkthrough of Serum, the frequency separation plugin from us over at Grayscale. This is actually a redo of the previous video that we published, but a bit more put together. But enough introduction, let's get started with the first of 3 examples. First thing we're going to do here is mask out our area of interest. This first node is simply taking our blacks down. We are going to take the polygon tool, and I'm just going to mask out her upper cheek here. Great, and then I will track it both forwards and just forwards here. Now that we have this masked out, I will invoke a serial node using Alt-S and connect our alpha, which is these blue lines here. Then I can scroll down and invoke Serum into our serial node, and right off the bat you see a difference because of our preset values. The TLDR for this interface is to begin with a lower initial filter radius, maybe around 8, and a higher low frequency filter radius, usually about double or more than that, and play around until you like what you see. However, to explain this in all of its full glory, I will go through this interface parameter by parameter. First thing you want to do is make sure you're in the right color space. Of course, this is a REC 709, so we're going to use that, but all major color spaces are supported. Now, we're going to start with our color layer. These 2 sliders are our initial filter radius. This is the one that creates the separation between the color and texture layers. You can see it actually affecting our color layer here and populating our texture layer. The traditional way of approaching frequency separation here is to start with your initial filter radius, blurring it out until you just barely obscure the details that you want to keep. And then looking at your final composite, and now we're going to increase our low frequency filter radius until we like what we see. I'm happy with this here. And as I explained before, all the heavy lifting is done up here. Furthermore, there are texture adjustments, mostly just to bring back any detail that you feel you've lost. I don't think we need very much of it here, but I'll bring back some. And then there's amplifier contrast to further define that detail and situations where you feel that you really need it. Furthermore, moving past the texture adjustments, we have some advanced controls. So before I told you not to soften your mask yet, and that's because we handle it internally under the advanced section. Up here under eye, you see this fringe is coming from our hardened mask. When we increase it, the softness gets introduced. It only shows 0 to 100, but it really goes as high as 250. Now, there are different types of filters for each stage of your frequency separation process. There's Gaussian, which is the default. We all know what that is. There's also surface and box. These are mostly modeled after what's there available in Photoshop and what you might be used to. For this example, surface is actually a great option because you can use it to target the larger blemishes. So I'm just going to tune it just like Gaussian looked. And as we decrease our threshold parameter, you can see it start to attack our larger blemishes before our smaller ones, before fine details such as pores. So that's actually what I'm going to use for this example. And furthermore, there's a box option. And then lastly, there's your performance mode, which makes you choose between light mode and standard. Light mode will make your editing flow a little bit easier, but there's an occasional situation where you might see some artifacts in which you want to switch back to standard. And lastly, I know I said lastly, sorry about that. What's actually lastly is you might have noticed that there are not 1, but 2 inputs on this node. And that is because we have a use input to parameter, which allows you to process a second mask independently of the first one, which is what I will show you in this next example. I've already done the necessary masking work, and I got this from Artlist, so it is not in log. So we're going to stay in the REC 709 color space. And just like last time, I will barely blur my color layer till I obscure the details that I want to keep. Go to the final composite and blur my color layer until I like what I see. I don't think we need much texture here, but I'm going to drag it up and I'm going to kill my contrast a bit. There we go. So here we are. It looks fine and natural. And now we can show you what the second input looks like. So on this first node, I already masked out her cheek there, but later on in the shot, she turns her head this way. And that's where this second mask comes in. I've already done the tracking work for it as well. So now in order to process it independently, but in the same node, we are going to connect both of these. And I'm going to select use input to, and I've already done the work here, but you can see this is an exact copy of what you see above. This allows you to process multiple inputs without having a huge complicated node tree. On to the last example now. This would be a good use of using our texture amplifier. So I already did our masking work again, but we are going to make a serial node, invoke Serum, connect our alpha, and really quickly gonna burn through this and increase your low frequency filter radius. I'm gonna decrease this a bit so we can de-emphasize the reds that are underlying here and there in her skin, and then increase the texture amplifier to bring some of that texture back, but not too much to over sharpen it, resoften our mask, and voila, here we are. Obviously, I'm very used to this tool, but after you're used to it, you can get results like this within 45 seconds, and that's really the point of Serum, is that you can get a whole lot done without a big disruption to your workflow. I will say now that even though this is color managed, it does perform the best and give the most realistic results around the end of your node tree, in my experience. But if you like what you see, go crazy. And that'll be all. Thanks very much for tuning in to this walkthrough of Serum. Please be on the lookout for more tutorials and walkthroughs of our DaVinci Resolve plugins. Check out our free trial of Serum available at our website, and see you next time.